Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambeth, and with me are Joshua Burch. A big welcome back to you after being away for the last few weeks, and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. We encourage everyone to comment in the chat, ask questions, and support us through Super Chat. Now, Josh, take it away with our top story this evening.
Thank you, Kobe. Glad to be back. Hello, Kobe. Hello, Matt. Hello, everybody. And sorry for absence of 2 weeks. Emergency surgery for teeth and all that lot. And it's never good when a broadcaster has issues with mouth. But I am 60% back, and I've just been wanting to get back on the show. I was even watching it in my hospital bed 2 weeks ago, and typing one-handed with a cannula in the other is not the best. But I wanted to get back, and I'm glad to be back. So let's get on with the show. Top story then. Porsche Penske Motorsport are making changes to its 2025 driver lineups in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship and the FIA World Endurance Championship. Starting with IMSA, despite winning the 2024 GTP title with co-driver Felipe Nasr, Dane Cameron will not return to the team. Nasr will be back in the number 7 Porsche 963, but he'll be working with Nick Tandy, who shifts over from the number 6 Porsche. With Tandy teaming up with Nasr, Matt Campbell is returning to IMSA full-time to co-drive with Mathieu Jamier. Now, meanwhile, Kevin Estre and Lawrence Van Horth will join the IMSA program for the Michelin Endurance Cup races, the photo courtesy there of Porsche Motorsport. Kobe, starting with you on this one. After the finishing first and second in this year's GTP Championship, did Porsche improve its driver lineup? And are you surprised that they chose to move on from Dane Cameron?
Yeah, the decision to move on from Dane Cameron is kind of odd. I know there were rumblings at Motul Petit Le Mans that Dane Cameron could potentially be out, but it's kind of weird. You win a championship and then you essentially get fired from your job, which is kind of what happened to Dane Cameron. But it seems like in the last throughout his IMSA career, it seems like Dane Cameron has always had that wow factor behind the wheel, but recently it really seems like Dane Cameron, when he's been behind the wheel of the car, he's still been really good. Obviously, he's an IMSA GTP champion for crying out loud. But in a way, it really seems like that wow factor that I've seen from him, throughout his IMSA career, it just really hasn't been there anymore. I don't know what the factors were with him being out at Porsche Penske Motorsport or anything like that. But yeah, it's definitely quite a surprise to see him moving on. I thought that potentially if they did change up the driver lineup, they'd at least keep him for the endurance role or something like that. But they didn't even do that. They just decided to move on from Dane completely. And still think Dane has a lot left in the tank. He's a really good driver, so I'm sure some team out there, whether it's in GTP, LMP2, GTD Pro, GTD, he has experience in GT cars. I'm sure that there will be someone out there who'll be interested in his services because you'll be getting a championship-winning driver who has years of experience on these IMSA tracks. So yeah, definitely an interesting move for sure. Looking forward to seeing how Nick Tandy and Felipe Nasr's gonna get along as well. Also excited to see Matt Campbell and Mathieu Jaminet teaming up again. I think those two work extremely well together. They won an IMSA GTD Pro Championship together, and they also have a season in GTP together. Before Campbell, went over to the World Endurance Championship program. Now he's back in IMSA, and so I think in a way Porsche has gotten better on the IMSA side of things, and they finished 1-2 in the championship. As you mentioned, Josh, I thought it was a very good season for Porsche in IMSA, and also they've been having a great season in the World Endurance Championship as well. Yeah, so I think Porsche did a really good job with this driver lineup, and also bringing in Kevin Estre and Lawrence Van Thor for the Michelin Endurance Cup events. It doesn't get better than that.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to you, Josh. Big swish around in Porsche land, isn't it, with all of this, and the World Endurance Championship, which we'll get to in a minute as well, having some shuffling of the deck going on there. Shame for the only American in the Porsche lineup in America is now out of his seat and being replaced by an Australian in Matt Campbell. I mean, it's not a bad swap. It's not like Porsche have got a very small list of people lined up to get in their car or cars. And as we'll get to later on when we get to the Grid Endurance Performance Index update, pretty much all of the top 10 so far throughout the year is Porsche GTP or WEC drivers. So it's been a terrific year for them, with Bahrain coming up in a couple of weeks with WEC to finish the season. So shame for Cameron. I feel like this happens more regularly than it should do in the IMSA paddock, where the champion ends up being bumped somewhere. We saw it with Colin Braun a couple of years ago. more on him later as well. And we talked about him last week on the show, of course, coming back to GTP next year with Maya Shank. But this is now it's happened to Cameron as well. So Porsche shuffling one of both of their decks, and there's been movement in the WEC camp as well.
There has indeed. Now, on the World Endurance Championship side of things, Michael Christensen will return to the number 5 Porsche and have Julian Andlauer serve as his new full-time co-driver in the hypercar class, while Kevin Estre and Lawrence Van Holst return to the number 6 Porsche for the full season. Now, to complete the driver lineups, Mathieu Jamier will join Christensen and Andlauer in the number 5, as Matt Campbell gets in the number 6 with Estre and Van Holst for Le Mans and other select races. Now, Porsche will allow the contract of Andre Lotterer to expire at the end of the 2024 season, and they've agreed to mutually part ways with Frederick Makowski as well. Now, did Porsche make the right move to promote Julian Andlauer to the factory hypercar seat? And what are your thoughts on the two departures as well?
Well, if anyone saw the WEC race at Spa, when was that? May? Pre-Le Mans anyway. Julian Andlauer has been driving a Porsche this season for the privateer Proton team, and he was amazing in that race. He was absolutely sensational. He passed about 6 or 7 people on the run from La Source down to Eau Rouge, and was just every time he got behind someone, he was going through. And you're like, and Andlauer has been on the radar for a little while with Porsche and with others. And you look at that and you go, oh wow, this guy's got something in these cars. He's really, really tearing it up. So it's great to see that he's got promoted. Interesting to see what happens with Lotterer. As I mentioned, they're the championship leaders in WEC. He, Van Voort, and Est going into Bahrain, which is next weekend, for the final round. Will he go out as a champion? What will he do from here? Will he go back to Formula E, perhaps? Not that there's many seats open there, so it's going to be interesting to see what Andre does. He's getting towards the twilight of his career, I guess. Will he just run some selected races like Spa 24, Nürburgring 24, that kind of thing, perhaps in a sort of third driver role for some teams? And the same for Fred Makowicki as well, who's again been with Porsche for a very, very long time. I think he won the Carrera Cup France in about 2012, so it's been a long time for him as being part of the Porsche family. So shame for those guys if this is the end of their top line GTP / hypercar career. But really, I'm very happy to see Julian Andlauer get promoted, because he's been very, very good this season in the WEC.
Yeah, Matt, totally agree with you. I think it's a well-deserved promotion for Julian Andlauer whenever he's had a chance, to get in this Porsche prototype. He's definitely overperformed, because you expect obviously the factory entries from Porsche Penske Motorsport. You expect those to be at the forefront, but you don't really expect to see the privateers like Proton competition, up there in the mix fighting. But whenever we've seen Andlauer's Bonneville has been very fast, and I think he's getting honestly a lot out of his equipment, and he's really shown time and time again that he needed an opportunity like this, and obviously Porsche saw it as well, so they decided to reward him for everything he's done. And looking at Julian Andlauer, it just shows you how successful the Porsche driver development system is. He's been, kind of like Frederick Makowicki was. Julian Andlauer has been with Porsche for quite a handful of years now. When he was a young driver, they took him in and developed him into the driver that he's going to be now. He's going to be driving with the factory prototype team in the World Endurance Championship, and that's definitely a great opportunity for him. Looking forward to seeing what he's going to do with Porsche Penske Motorsport in 2025. And regarding the two departures, I was actually reading an exclusive interview Sports Car 365 did with Lotterer and Makowicki, and in that article, Lotterer said that he hoped to return to the team, but he wasn't quite sure. But now we have the answer that he's not going to be coming back, and Lotterer actually has a chance to go into the World Endurance Championship season finale at Bahrain and do what Dan Cameron did. Dan Cameron won the IMSA GTP Championship, and he's out of a ride. Andre Lotterer, he has a chance to go to Bahrain and win the Hypercar Championship, and he's ultimately going to be out of a ride. So I guess quite a way to go out from Porsche if, both of those drivers, win the season-long championship, and then they have to try to figure out what's next. Yeah, like you, man, I'm not really sure what Andre's going to do this late in his career. I still think Andre has a lot left in the tank as a driver, but obviously he's not the driver that he was 4, 5, 6 years ago. So as these drivers get older, they obviously decline a little bit in performance. and don't really know what's next for Fred Makowicki as well. We just have to wait and see how that goes. But yeah, Porsche getting their driver lineups done early this year in GTP. We usually see those lineups come out in December, so I guess they're 2 months ahead of the game.
Everyone seems to be 2 months ahead of the game, but I bet you we could see Andre Lotterer in Formula E. I would not put that past him. He's a very good driver and was very good in Formula E. We called him the bridesmaid because, of course, he finished second so many times and never actually won an E Prix, but still, he could do it.